Sometimes you survive something and you think the story ended when the situation ended, but it didn't. Because sometimes the situation leaves and you stayed changed. You became a different person, not necessarily a bad person, just a more guarded person, a more careful person, a person who thinks 3 times before trusting anybody, a person who doesn't get excited too quickly, a person who doesn't tell people everything anymore, a person who can still sit in a room full of people and still feel completely alone. And the strange thing is, sometimes you don't even notice that you've changed. You just think, that's who I am now. But maybe that's not who you are. Maybe that's who you had to become. There are people who became extremely independent because they learned very early that nobody was coming to help. So now, when somebody says, let me help you, they say, I'm fine, even when they are not. Not because they don't need help, they just don't know how to receive it anymore. They've spent so long surviving alone, and depending on somebody feels dangerous. And there are people who became emotionally unavailable because being vulnerable once cost them too much. They opened up, they trusted, they told somebody what they were feeling, and somehow that information became a weapon against them. So now they don't talk, they say, I'm private. But sometimes you're not private, you're hot. There is a difference. And then there are people who stopped celebrating themselves. Something good happens, and instead of enjoying it, they immediately think, let's not get too excited, because they've learned that happiness can be followed by disappointment. So they keep one foot in joy and the other foot waiting for disaster. Even when something beautiful happens, they are already preparing themselves for it to end. And that's exhausting, because how do you enjoy today when you're constantly grieving tomorrow? Maybe you've become someone who always expects people to leave. So whenever somebody gets close, you start looking for the exits. You start noticing little things. They replied differently today. They didn't call me like yesterday. Something feels off. And suddenly, you're emotionally preparing for a breakup that hasn't even happened. You're trying to protect yourself from a pain that doesn't exist yet. And sometimes you push people away first, not because you don't love them, but because you would rather be the person who leaves than the person who gets left. That's a very lonely way to live. And I think one of the hardest things about healing is realizing that the things you learn to do to protect yourself can eventually become the things that can hurt you. The wall that protected you can also keep love out. The independence that helped you survive can stop you from receiving help. The silence that kept you out of trouble can make it impossible for people to know when you're hurting. The ability to expect the worst can make peace feel suspicious, and you start wondering, why can't I just relax? Why can't I trust? Why can't I enjoy anything? Why am I always waiting for something to go wrong? Maybe because there was a time when something did go wrong and you never really came out of that room. I want to say something carefully here. I am not telling you that every painful thing you've experienced has a beautiful explanation. Sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes people hurt us. Sometimes people leave. Sometimes we make terrible decisions. Sometimes we lose things we desperately wanted to keep. And sometimes there isn't a neat little sentence that makes all of it make sense. But I have learned that you don't have to understand everything that happened to you. To stop allowing it to control you. To stop allowing it to control everything that happens next. That's important, because your past can explain you without having to define you. Maybe you used to be incredibly hopeful and life made you critical. Maybe you used to trust people easily and somebody taught you not to. Maybe you used to dream and disappointment taught you to stop. Maybe you used to pray boldly, and after asking God for something over and over again, you eventually stopped asking. Not because you stopped believing in God, you just got tired. And I think there are people who are carrying that kind of tiredness quietly. They still believe, they still go to church, they still say God is good, but somewhere inside there is a little part of them saying, I don't know if I can hope again. And honestly, I don't think you need to pretend that part isn't there. Bring it to God. Even if all you can say is, Lord, I'm tired, that's still a prayer. You don't always have to come to God with beautiful words. Sometimes you can come as you are. And maybe that's what I want this conversation to be all about. Not becoming some perfect healed version of yourself overnight. Just coming back to yourself slowly. Laugh again. Try something again. Trust somebody carefully. Rest without feeling guilty. Say what you actually feel. Celebrate something without immediately looking for what could go wrong. Let yourself be happy. And if happiness feels unfamiliar, that's okay. You can learn from it again. There's also something else I want you to hear. You don't have to keep punishing yourself for the person you were when you were trying to survive. Maybe you made decisions you wouldn't make today. Maybe you stayed too long. Maybe you trusted the wrong person. Maybe you ignored warning signs. Maybe you wasted time. Maybe you hurt somebody. Maybe you hurt yourself. And yes, you should learn from those things. But learning from something is different from spending the rest of your life hating yourself for it. You were making decisions with the understanding you had at that time. Now you know more. Now you see more clearly. So take the lesson, leave the shame, and please stop comparing your healing to somebody else's life. You don't know what somebody else had to walk through to become who they are. You see the confidence. You don't see the years it took to build it. You see the marriage. You don't see the conversation that happened before it. You see the business. You don't see the nights they were terrified it would fail. You see the smile. You don't know what happened 5 minutes before the picture. So stop using somebody else's visible chapter to judge your invisible one. You are allowed to be somewhere different. And if you're in a season where you genuinely don't know what you're doing with your life, welcome to being human. Seriously, you don't need to know everything. Maybe you're 20, maybe you're 30, maybe you're 40, maybe you're 50. There is no age where life suddenly hands you a manual and say, congratulations, you now understand everything. You will still have questions. You will still have seasons where you feel lost. You will still have days where you doubt yourself. And that's okay. You can be uncertain without being hopeless. I think sometimes we are so focused on becoming successful that we forget to become peaceful. We want the money, the house, the relationship, the career, the recognition, the answered prayers, and there is nothing wrong with wanting good things. But what happens when you finally get everything you've been chasing and you still don't know how to be at peace? That's something worth thinking about, because maybe the goal isn't just to build a beautiful life. Maybe it's also to become someone who can actually live inside it peacefully. So, if you've been in survival mode for a long time, I hope you slowly learn that you don't have to stay there. You can put your guard down sometimes. You can rest. You can ask for help. You can love people more. You can love someone again. You can dream again. You can laugh loudly. You can stop expecting the worst. You can stop reacting every possible disaster in your head. You can stop living tomorrow before tomorrow arrives. And you can give yourself permission to enjoy the life that is happening right now. And if nobody has told you this lately, I'm glad you're still here. Not because everything is perfect, not because you figured everything out, just because you're still here. And maybe that's enough for today. You don't have to become a completely different person tomorrow. Just take one thing from this conversation, one thing, and carry it with you. Maybe it's this: you survived what happened to you, but you don't have to keep living like it's still happening. There is a difference, and I hope slowly you learn how to live again. Not just survive, live. I'll see you in my next one.